Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Vicki Gunvalson spills tea behind Tamra's estrangement from daughter. Vicki Gunvalson is spilling the tea behind former RHOC co-star Tamra Judge's estrangement from her daughter, Sydney. This has been immensely hard for Tamra, who has touched on this topic for several seasons. Though she has briefly shared her side of the story, Vicki is putting it all out on the table. Keep reading for all of the details. Tamra Judge was married to Simon Barney when she began on RHOC in Season 3. She had a grown son, Ryan Veith, from her first marriage. With Simon, Tamra had 3 young children, Sydney, Spencer, and Sophia, but decided she wanted a divorce at the end of Season 5. Within a few seasons, it came out that Sydney, Tamra's eldest daughter, moved out to live with her father, Simon, and never looked back. Tamra was invited to Sydney's graduation, but they became estranged again shortly thereafter. At the beginning of Season 18, Tamra's youngest daughter, Sophia, was brought back since she is 18 and didn't need Simon's consent. Spencer and Sophia are not on good terms with their dad or Sydney and have been with Tamra all along. She still holds out hope that Sydney will come back, but now, the OG of the OC, Vicki Gunvalson, is spilling the tea on the estrangement. According to Reality Tea, the insurance mogul shared what went down on her podcast, My Friend, My Soulmate, My Podcast. Vicki started with this: Sydney, Tamra's daughter, has a really strong opinion of Tamra. Stop embarrassing the family. Stop doing what you're doing, get off the show, and we have a chance. Tamra did none of that, so that shows Sydney, I'm not important to you. She then went on to allege Sydney had some requests for Tamra which she did not follow through on. Sydney asked one thing: Mom, stop swearing at people, stop doing stupid stuff, and then let's have a conversation. But even when Tamra was off the show for 2 years, she never connected with Sydney. Get off the show and reconcile with your daughter. It's pretty simple. More so, Vicki Gunvalson suggested that maybe Tamra Judge chose her third husband, Eddie Judge, over her children, and that stung some. Finally, she told Tamra to go apologize for her wrongdoings and fix her mistakes. When followers heard what Vicki Gunvalson had said about Tamra Judge and Sydney, they were shocked. Immediately, Tamra's phone began to blow up, so she made a video in response to what Vicki had to say. She made it clear that Vicki has her own problems with her children, so maybe she should not be speaking about others. So what did followers have to say? They did not want to see Tamra saying anything until her face had healed from her latest cosmetic procedure, but many agreed with Vicki. Tamra can't take it, she can dish it out, but not take it. I agree with Vicki. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Vicki has repaired that relationship with her daughter. You have not. Seems like Vicki might be right. You go after everyone, you are a friend to no one unless it benefits you. Keep your mouth out of others' business because they will bite back. Looks like RHOC fans are still on Team Vicki after all of this time. Do you think it was okay what she exposed about Tamra and her daughter? Let us know and watch the show Thursdays on Bravo. Vicki Gunvalson sat in the quiet corner of a chic Orange County cafe, sipping her latte as she prepared to spill some piping hot tea. With a twinkle in her eye, she glanced around, ensuring no one was within earshot. This was going to be juicy, and she knew it. Vicki, often referred to as the OG of the OC, was no stranger to drama, especially when it came to her former Real Housewives of Orange County castmates. Today's topic of conversation: Tamra Judge's estrangement from her daughter, Sydney Barney. It was no secret that Tamra's personal life had been a whirlwind of public ups and downs, with her strained relationship with Sydney being one of the most heartbreaking aspects. For years, fans had watched Tamra attempt to reconcile with her daughter, often unsuccessfully. But what many didn't know was what Vicki had witnessed behind the scenes. The quiet moments, the off-camera confessions, and the complicated emotions that never made it to the TV screen. People think they know everything from what they see on the show. Vicki began, leaning in conspiratorially. But trust me, there's so much more to the story than what aired. Tamra and Sydney's relationship was always a sensitive topic, and there were times when it really got to her. But you know Tamra, she'd rather put on a tough face than show just how much it was tearing her apart. Vicki paused, swirling her drink thoughtfully. She had a complicated relationship with Tamra herself, one that had seen its fair share of ups and downs over the years. They'd been best friends, then enemies, and back again. But through it all, Vicki had always had a soft spot for her former friend, even when things between them were rocky. And when it came to Tamra's struggles with Sydney, Vicki couldn't help but feel for her. Tamra's always been a fighter, Vicki continued, her voice softening. But fighting for your kid, that's a different kind of battle. I think people don't realize just how much Sydney's estrangement has shaped Tamra. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. It was years of tension, misunderstanding, and mistakes on both sides. According to Vicki, a lot of the tension between Tamra and Sydney had its roots in Tamra's divorce from Sydney's father, Simon Barney. The split had been messy, public, and painful for everyone involved. Simon had been vocal about his disapproval of Tamra's behavior on RHOC, accusing her of prioritizing fame and drama over her family. Sydney, caught in the middle, had chosen to live with Simon, a decision that had driven a wedge between her and Tamra. Simon didn't make things easy, Vicki said, shaking her head. He had a lot of influence over Sydney, and Tamra felt like she was constantly being painted as the villain. But the truth is, Tamra loved her daughter fiercely. She just didn't always know how to show it in a way that Sydney needed. One of the major turning points in their relationship came during Sydney's high school graduation. Tamra had been overjoyed to attend the ceremony, hoping it would be a step toward reconciliation. But when Sydney later made it clear that she didn't want her mother sharing any photos or details about the event on social media, Tamra was crushed. Still, she posted a heartfelt message, hoping to express her pride and love for Sydney, but it backfired. Sydney was furious, Vicki revealed. She felt like Tamra was making it all about her, trying to get attention for something that should have been private. That was a big blow to Tamra. She was trying to celebrate her daughter, but Sydney saw it as another example of Tamra putting her public image first. The fallout from that moment had been intense, with Sydney releasing a public statement accusing her mother of being toxic and manipulative. It was a heartbreaking read for anyone who had followed their story, and for Tamra, it was devastating. Vicki recalled how Tamra had called her in tears after the statement was released, completely shattered by her daughter's words. "I'll never forget that phone call," Vicki said, her voice heavy with emotion. Tamra was sobbing. She kept saying, "I'm losing my daughter, Vicki. I don't know what to do." She was so broken. For someone like Tamra, who's always been so strong and tough, it was hard to see her like that. She just wanted to make things right, but she didn't know how. Over the years, Tamra had tried multiple times to rebuild her relationship with Sydney, but it was clear that the damage ran deep. Vicki believed that part of the issue was that Tamra and Sydney were too similar, both strong-willed, both stubborn, and both deeply hurt by the other's actions. It was a toxic cycle that neither seemed able to break. "I think a lot of it comes down to communication," Vicki mused. Tamra and Sydney never really learned how to talk to each other in a way that wasn't defensive or hurtful. And when you're dealing with that kind of history, it's hard to move forward. Despite everything, Vicki was hopeful that one day Tamra and Sydney would find their way back to each other. She had seen other housewives go through similar struggles, estranged children, broken families, and knew that time had a way of healing wounds, even the deepest ones. Tamra's not perfect, Vicki admitted. She's made her fair share of mistakes, and she'll be the first to admit that. But I know she loves her kids more than anything, and I believe that one day Sydney will see that. It might not happen tomorrow, or even next year, but I think there's hope for them. There has to be. As Vicki finished her latte and gathered her things, she offered one last piece of insight. The thing about Tamra is, she never gives up. And I don't think she'll ever stop fighting for Sydney, no matter how long it takes. With that, Vicki stood up, her eyes bright with the knowledge that the world hadn't heard the last of this story. There was still more to come, and knowing Tamra, it was bound to be dramatic.